Hello, everybody. Travis Siblinger here, once again, coming to you from Progressive Coaching, located in Zurich, Switzerland. And today I'm continuing with this series on how to overcome the fear of uncertainty. I'll link to the entire playlist up here somewhere so you can check that out and watch these in sequential order, because today's session continues on from session 1. And let's get straight into it now. So, let's imagine you felt some discomfort creeping in. You've felt some unease related to uncertainty. You've applied some Navy SEAL tactical breathing. You've calmed yourself down. You've returned blood to the prefrontal cortex. Now, what do? You don't want to just stand there doing diaphragmatic breathing all day. What do? What you do is you ask better questions. You ask better questions to yourself, because whatever question you ask, your brain searches for an answer to that question, even if it has to make something up. You ask a question to yourself and your brain searches its database of memories and tries to come up with an answer to your question. So when you ask disempowering, self-sabotaging questions like, why do I always fail at everything? Your brain will search for any times that you have failed at anything and give you an answer to that question. Why am I just not good enough? Why can't I do anything right? What's wrong with me? Brain searches for an answer. So we have to be very, very careful the questions that we ask ourselves. This is how we direct our brain. So we ask better questions. So if we're facing, let's bring it back to the topic at hand, which is the subject of overcoming uncertainty. So let's imagine we're facing some uncertainty. We have a big social gathering that we are invited to, and we know this brings a lot of uncertainty. What kind of people will be there? What if the people don't like me? What if I don't fit in? What if I stand there looking like a loser? What about that one time where I was so awkward at a social situation? You start making all these connections, and before you know it, you've triggered your limbic system once again, and you've got to do what we talk about in session 1. But then you need to take the next step, which is ask better questions. So I'll give you 3 questions now that are very, very useful. There's a whole heap of different questioning frameworks, but I'll give you one right now, which is very useful in situations where we are facing fear, and in particularly in this instance, fear of uncertainty. So the first question, which is going to seem like the antithesis of what I'm advocating here, but stay with me. The first question is, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? And actually, we call this the horror movie. This first question, what's the worst that could happen, is the horror movie. Okay, this framework is called the horror movie, the Disney movie, the documentary. So this first question is the horror movie. That's how you can remember this questioning frame. What's the worst that could happen? And you might say to yourself, well, I go to the social gathering and then I really feel quite nervous and I don't know how to communicate with these people. And the worst that could happen is I say hello and people look at me like, who's this strange person trying to say hello? And then I just feel really awkward and I even start to feel sick, and I just get up and leave and drive home. That's the worst that could possibly happen. Then you ask another question. So I know there's 3 questions. Let's say it's 3.1 questions. This is the point 1, and it's the most important question in this framework. And the question is this: could you handle it? Could you handle the worst case situation? And you might say, okay, so this situation could happen. The worst, I feel sick, I leave. Could I handle it? Well, yeah, I could handle it. Life would still go on. Well, would it matter in 1 week? Would it matter in 1 month? Would it matter in 1 year? Wouldn't matter. This would be not a huge incident in my life story. So maybe I was catastrophizing this a bit in my mind, blowing it out of proportion, making it seem much worse than it was, which our brains are sometimes very good at. So the worst situation I could absolutely handle. That's that. Then we come to question 2, which is the Disney movie. What's the best thing that could possibly happen? Well, the best thing, is I go to this social gathering and I walk in, and as I walk in, the heads just, a couple of people just look at me with awe in their eyes. Like they've never seen such beauty before. And they come up to me for a conversation. They say, hey, I just felt compelled to introduce myself to you. I've never seen such a handsome man before. And I just had to, introduce myself. And that you start talking and they say, I'm just blown away with your intelligence. I've never met such a beautiful man, both intellectually and visually. It's incredible. And then they ask if they can give me all their money. You know what I mean? So we get this Disney movie happening. Okay, the best that could possibly happen. Maybe your imagination is slightly more in line with reality than mine. Maybe the best case scenario is you have excellent conversations with people and people are really enthused to interact with you, and you meet people that you think can be friends forever. You really make some instant connections, and you're going to meet up with these people more, and you just feel incredible for doing this. Okay, that's the Disney movie. Then the third one is the documentary. So the question is, what's the most realistic outcome? What's the most likely outcome? So the most likely outcome is probably you go to this social function and you feel a little nervous, but you push yourself. You talk to some people, you have some good conversations. It starts to get easier the more you are there. And yeah, although it's not perfect, you are so proud of yourself for actually going to it, and you grow so much because of this, that the next time you go to a social gathering will be much better, because you will have learned skills by going to this one that will serve you in the next one. And that's that. You've got your horror movie, your Disney movie, and the documentary. The most likely situation seems quite positive. You're going to grow from it, so it's extremely positive. The worst case scenario, the horror movie, you've ascertained that you can absolutely handle. So there's no reason not to do it. You've got everything to gain, nothing really to lose. It was all just a hallucination. So you go ahead and do it. And by doing that, you have to push yourself a little, but it's much easier when you ask questions like this, as opposed to questions like just horror movie, horror movie, horror movie. Okay, so that's this questioning frame. Another thing that you can do, another question, a little bonus question that I like to ask myself sometimes, it's a little bit more extreme than this one, is I imagine if there's something I want to push myself, really push myself, and it's not a physical threat, it's more of an emotional blockage. It's a fear of uncertainty. So I say to myself, and I recommend this to clients as well, what if one of my children was sick in hospital? Let's just imagine this situation. One of my children was sick and I needed, let's say, $100,000 for a life-saving operation. And I had by some weird situation, I had this deal where if I go and do this thing that is causing me uncertainty, that I'm so fearful of, if I go and do this and I enjoy it, I will get the $100,000 and be able to save my son's life. Would I do it? And it's like, no question, absolutely, in a heartbeat, I would do it. And I would damn well enjoy every second of it, because that was part of the deal. I've also got to enjoy doing it. It's just a change of perspective, because often what we won't do is not because of a lack of ability, it's because of a lack of motivation. Okay, so this gives you the most extreme motivation you can, that you can manifest, because you're going to do anything for your family's life. And then these things that you thought were so important, all of a sudden aren't so important, like people's judgments, what people think of me, being rejected, thinking that people are higher qualified or something like this. All of this just falls away when we change perspective. All right, so there's 2 very useful tools that you can implement straight away, giving you the questioning frame with the horror movie, the Disney movie, and the documentary. And then this second one, which I've just explained, that gives you a change of perspective. So if we had to encapsulate all of that, it's all about asking more empowering questions, taking control of the power of questions. Because remember, whatever we ask, our brain searches for an answer. even if it has to make something up. That's it for today's session. Thank you so much for your support of the channel, everyone. Please give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section so that more people can benefit from this content. And I look forward to the next one in a couple of days. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.